Hey everyone, welcome to UK Media Warrior. Arrow, Season 6, Episode 1, Fallout. Arrow is my favourite DC show without fail. The characters are incredible, the writing is normally top notch, but above all else, the action scenes, the fight scenes, the choreography and the stunts in Arrow by far outshine any of the other three CW DC TV shows. I mean, it stands alone in the finesse and the detail they put into their fights. They really do. I mean, it's without question and without doubt. They're on par with movies when it comes to fights and action scenes. It's a simple fact, they just are. And that's one of the huge reasons that I love Arrow so much and why I place it at the top of the four DC shows. Plus, it's been going the longest, so it's probably grown on me more than all the others, even though it had a slightly dodgy season one. But then most shows have a dodgy season one as a rule. But it's got considerably better as time has gone on. And now it's in season 6. Pretty much all the main cast are still with us over the last 5 years. This, as an opening episode, was a little 50-50 for me. After just saying how great Arrow is and how much I like it, and I love it as a TV show. Watching this was a little bit, I was like, have they dropped the IQ slightly for this show? Are they expecting the audience to be slightly dumber than they were in the previous 5 years? The reasons I say that is at the end of season 5, we see Lian Yu, the island they're all trapped on, blow up. The entire island. It's an inferno. And they deliberately do that to give you a huge cliffhanger. How can any of the main cast survive such an explosion? The only people not on the island are Ollie and his son William. Everybody else, including William's mother Samantha, are on the island. So you go into this season 6, the opening episode, and you're thinking, who could possibly have survived? Some of them have got to have died. No. Not so much, really. In fact, no, not at all. The only person to die is Samantha, William's mum, who I really couldn't have cared less about. Fia is knocked out and put into a coma, and again, I really couldn't have given two hoots about Fia's. In my opinion, Fia at the start, in the first 3, even 4 seasons of Arrow, she was a great character. She was. They kept giving her different things to do. When they made her Speedy, give her the red costume, Arrow costume, fantastic. But as time went on, they seemed to be running out of things to give her, and she appeared less and less in the show, even at one point being written out for most of it. And then in this, she comes back at the end of season 5, gets onto the island, gets knocked out when she goes running after Samantha because Samantha's running off to find William, even though, as far as memory serves, Oliver's on the comms or with Felicity, and Felicity knows that William is on the boat with Oliver. And Felicity knows Samantha is William's mother, so why wouldn't she have told Samantha, don't worry, the boy is on the boat with Oliver, he is perfectly safe? Why would she have just let Samantha run off onto the island looking for her son? And that didn't make much sense to me, and one of the reasons why I'm saying the IQ seems to have dropped a little bit. But yeah, so Fia and Samantha, Samantha being dead, Fia being knocked out, I mean, these are the 2 characters who are on that island that people really cared nothing about. So for both of them to be hurt, nobody really give a shit, really. I mean, nobody really did. I mean, all of the main characters, Felicity, Diggle, Diana, Lance, Quentin Lance, Mr. T, Mr. Terrific, sorry, I mean, Mad Dog, they all get off the island absolutely fine. I mean, Diggle, you find out, is injured. In a later flashback, his right shoulder is injured. But you don't know that at the start. You just see them 5 months later on in the lair, and they all start appearing. You get Diggle and Mad Dog appear in action in one scene, and then you get Dinah in another, and Ollie's there fighting on the docks, and then eventually they're all together in the lair, and you see Felicity come in with big belly burgers for everyone, and it's like, well, a little bit anticlimactic, isn't it? We had that huge explosion at the end of last season. We expected there were going to be some important deaths, and everyone got off pretty much unscathed. And the reason they survived, because they got inside of an aeroplane, and supposedly that shielded them from the huge explosions that ripped the island apart. Okay, I suppose the writers had to give you some reason why everyone survived, but it just feels very flimsy. It really does. I mean, Slade Wilson survives because he's running on the other side of the island to get the Argus ship that's moored there that Ollie tells me about. I like Slade Wilson, so I was happy he lived. But this, yeah, so that, the opening of the episode, and admittedly, the opening action scene, as always with an Arrow show normally, was fantastic. I mean, it really was. But Ollie underwater firing arrows that fast out of the water to kill the bad guys on the dock. I would love to see an experiment be done to see if that's possible. Firstly, could an arrow be fired underwater? Just one. Secondly, could 5 or 6 arrows be fired underwater in that fast a succession? I really don't think so. But you know he's in the water because when he's killed the guys who are shooting down into it, he fires an arrow with a rope up and gets hauled out of the water dripping wet and lands on the dock. I loved it. It visually looked fantastic, but you would have to have been as thick as a rock to watch that and think, you know, and not think that's not possible. You know, now normally Arrow action scenes, you watch them and they might be big and bombastic and huge and visually spectacular, but they always have an underpinning of reality. You can watch it and go, yeah, okay, I can see that how that would happen. But this was stretching it a little bit thin. So again, lowering the IQ maybe a tad. Also in flashbacks, we see the island start to explode and Felicity running, tripping over, Diggle having to rush back to save her, and in doing so he gets injured. The old, oh no, the woman has tripped over thin air and the guy has to run back and save her and he gets injured doing so. That's, my God, that is such an old trope now. I mean, that's been used in movies and TV shows for decades, maybe even a century, and yet they're still digging it out to throw it in there as a reason why the guy gets injured. I mean, I just didn't buy it. Again, Felicity wouldn't just fall over thin air, and you saw the ground that they were running over. It was just dirt. There were no rocks, there were no trees, there were no shrubs. It was just plain flat dirt. There's no reason she would have fallen over. So that was, again, annoying. At the beginning of the show, in the future, we see obviously the rocket has been launched by the bad guy. It's heading towards the city. Mr. Terrific is on top of this building, and he throws a T-sphere to stop the rocket. How did a T-sphere catch up with a ballistic missile that is travelling that far? There is no visual form of propulsion for a T-sphere. We can only assume it moves on gravitic waves, maybe it uses gravity, perhaps magnets, I don't know. But the point is, normally it moves fast, yes. I mean, when you see him throw it and it's moving around rooms to search things out, it can move at a reasonable pace, running pace maybe. But to catch a ballistic missile, no. Again, I'm sorry, but it just couldn't do that. It couldn't move that fast. It's a scene where we get Diggle and Mad Dog and they're fighting the bad guys who are with the evil Laurel. And you've got Mad Dog standing behind the bad guy and Diggle is standing about 10 foot maybe in front of the bad guy, aiming his pistol at him, and he fires, misses the bad guy, hits the road or the wall behind the bad guy then shoots Mad Dog in the chest, throwing him over the edge, forcing Ollie to go after him. Now, I appreciate that Diggle is injured, his right shoulder. I get that. But this is a special ops soldier. You know, he is physically fit. Now, if he was so badly injured that he couldn't hold a pistol steady and fire it, he would know this. And he would not put himself and the rest of his team in danger by going on such a mission. We've seen him over the last 5 or 6 years, we know this of Diggle. He is always looking out for his friends and his partners. He would, if he knew about this injury, he would not have gone on that mission. But okay, let's say he wasn't aware of it. For some incredible strange reason, even though he knew he was injured, he didn't know that he couldn't hold and fire a gun. In 5 months, I have no idea how that's possible that he wouldn't have figured this out. But okay, let's say he didn't know. He's holding this gun, it's 10 foot, the bad guy's 10 foot away from him and his hand shaking. Even at 10 foot, he should have been able to shoot the guy. Anyone could have shot, I could have shot the guy, and I've never fired a gun, well, okay, I have fired a gun, but I've never, you know, I've only fired a pistol twice, and that was it, and my shots were crap, admittedly, but I could have hit something 10 feet away from me. And he's a trained marksman. Injury or not, he should have been able to hit that guy. And the same thing happens later on in the lair. He tries to shoot the guy. He fires like 8 or 9 shots at this guy who's getting gradually closer, and he misses all of them, even when the guy is literally standing in front of him. He still misses. The safest place to be when Diggle is shooting at you right now is right smack bang in front of his gun. And that is a ridiculous thing to put across. Have Diggle injured? Yes. Have the first scene, maybe it stretches the imagination a little bit, but fine. Have the first scene where he misses the guy. Perhaps he suddenly realises he's that badly injured. Okay, fine. But to have it again in the lair, where he shoots off that many rounds and misses, it just pushes it too far. He would have known from previously that he was that badly injured. He would have done something about it. And even if he didn't have time to do something about it, he would have known that firing his pistol at this guy who was running at him would have been a waste of time, and he would have just dumped it and charged the guy and beat the shit out of him. Diggle's a trained operative. He knows this. He would have done this. So that just seemed really silly. You see Ollie visit Fia's hospital room. It seems the same hospital room. Anyone who gets injured and hospitalised in Arrow ends up in this one room. I wonder whether it's reserved for the Queens. You know, anyway, 24/7 it's on hold in case a member of the Queen family or one of their friends gets injured, because it's the same exact hospital room every single time. So that made me laugh. The police force is again attacked and wiped out, the police station blown up. How do they get anyone to volunteer to be a policeman or policewoman in this city? In the last 5 years, that police station has been attacked. Hundreds of policemen and policewomen have been killed. Why would anyone sign up to be a police officer in this city? It's like signing your death warrant to yourself. You're gonna die if you become a policeman in this city. It's just obvious. We have Dinah and Diggle checking a warehouse where Laurel has been detected at having been at some point by Felicity. And they break in, they search the place, and Diggle and Dinah are searching it. And somebody, I can't remember who it is, it's either Dinah or Diggle, one of them, comments, well, no, they've obviously gone, they've tidied up, they've cleaned this place out fully. They state that. And then like 2 minutes later, they find this map that's just lying there out in the open for everyone to see, which just happens to have a plan of how to attack the mayor's office. Really? You've just stated they've cleaned this place out well. Everywhere is empty, totally bare. Tables are bare, shelves are bare. The room is empty, the building's empty. Yet this map remains an essential, vital piece of information that the bad guys wouldn't have just left lying out in the open for anyone to find. Firstly, they would have seen it themselves, packed it away and taken it. So why would everyone take this thing as serious? It's so obviously a setup. And yet everyone goes, wow, okay, we've got this important piece of information. The bad guys have screwed up here. They're obviously going to attack the mayor's office, the council office building. We need to make sure that doesn't happen. Everyone, all of the Arrow team, take it as gospel that this thing is accurate and true. And that's just ridiculous. They wouldn't have just... I was watching that scene and I was thinking, okay, somebody please say this is a trap. This is a setup. This is too easy. Please, somebody had the brains to do that. And none of them did. So at the end, where the lair gets attacked again by Laurel and her bad guys, I'm like, you had this coming, guys. You know, it was so choreographed for you, and yet you fell for it hook, line and sinker. But again, that brings me to the lair. How many times in the last 5 years has that lair been attacked, blown up, or whatever? Why don't they invest in some decent security? Or better still, move somewhere else. Move somewhere that the bad guys don't know you're at. Because most of the bad guys now are people who have already been to the lair when they were good guys. Or have just found out about it from other people. Everyone seems to know where the Arrow lair is if they're bad. Move somewhere else. It's not rocket science, people, really. And my final niggle at this episode, Quentin Lance. I love the character. I love the actor. It's absolutely fantastic. But we've spent a whole year, might be more than, might 2 or 3 years now, of Quentin Lance going through the trauma of losing his daughters. First Sarah, and then Laurel. And then seeing Laurel come back as the Laurel from the other Earth, and having to go through being told who she is and what she is. And that all happened last year. So we've already had all this angst and grief and emotion about him not being able to hurt his daughter, even though he knows that it's not his daughter. And yet, right here in this episode, he captures her at the lair, he's got her at gunpoint, and he just lets her walk out. Okay, perhaps you can't shoot her, but you could have at least tried to fight her with your hands, shot her in the leg, captured her, something. You don't just let her walk out. So that's getting very tired now. This is a smart guy. He should have been able to get past this in 5 years, especially when he knows that this isn't his daughter, that she's from another dimension, another reality. He should be better than that. So that's all my niggles out of the way, and obviously there are a few, but this was still a good episode. I enjoyed this episode. I always find myself enjoying our episodes, even when there are obviously slightly dodgy writing choices here. I love the characters, I love the interaction, I love Slade Wilson, I love watching him with Ollie. The two of them, like, Slade's become Ollie's dad now, and the two of them together, it's so warm. Now Slade has become a good guy again. Well, even when he was a bad guy, I liked him, but now he's a good guy again. The two of them together, it really is great. I love seeing those interactions. Ollie and Felicity getting back together again, looks like it's heading that way. A lot of people hate it. Now, I'm not one of them. I don't hate the idea, but I just think they've sort of hammered this to death by now. They're together, they're not together, they're married, no, it's a fake wedding, they're back together again. It's like, it's been going on for like 2 or 3 years now. Let's either do it or let it rest, okay? Don't keep going back and forward. It's just getting a little bit annoying now. But I would, if they finally do tie the knot, I wouldn't mind that. I like them together. I like the interaction. Dinah, I love as I can't keep it straight. I think Laurel, the evil Laurel, is Black Siren, and I think Dinah is the new Black Canary. I think that's right. I keep getting them mixed up. But Dinah is now a lieutenant in the police department, and I love her character. Again, well acted. Every character in this show is well acted. All the actors are fantastic. So you can't knock that. And the writing, as a rule, is very strong and very on point. And yes, it has some errors, as I pointed out in this review, but as a rule, you can't knock it. So, out of 10, I'm going to rate this one. I'm going to rate this 7 out of 10. It wasn't their best. There were a few plot holes, as I've mentioned, that they could have easily tied up and made it slightly tighter. And they were trying to get a lot across here, especially William, Ollie's son, being pissed at Ollie because he blames Ollie for Samantha's death, his mother's death. Now, this kid is supposedly 10 or 12. I don't have a lot of experience with kids. frank about that. But I would have thought a 10 or 11-year-old or 12-year-old would have been able to articulate his feelings a bit better than this kid was doing. You know, he was just sitting on the bed, ignoring Ollie, mumbling about a bad guy in his dreams and whatever. I mean, it was, you know, I could tell the twist, if you want to call it that, when it was going to come, when Ollie was like, well, you know, who is the bad guy? And the kid points at Oliver. I mean, I knew that was going to come. I knew the kid was going to hold Oliver responsible for his mother's death. It was just a pretty obvious assumption. But I thought they could have done it better. I'm not sure if it's the actor who plays the kid is at fault, or whether it's just the writing he's been given. But I guess we'll see as William becomes more of an important role in the show. But we see Oliver's nanny, I suppose, if you want to call her that, who's back from season 1. That was good. Again, their interaction, they fell into it so easily, and it felt really nice to have them together on screen again. So yes, 7 out of 10. Not fantastic, not one of the best Arrow episodes, but it was okay. It was alright. I enjoyed watching it. So far, so good. So we'll see if it gets better as the season goes on. But that's it for now. Thank you for watching this review. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. If not, you know, perhaps share it on your Facebook. But until next time, take care, look after yourselves. See you then.